guys, and welcome back. That was an awesome first session. Michelle is just incredible at what she does. But we are on to the most amazing session now. And do you know what? This is actually one that if I was at home watching, this would be one that I'd definitely want to check out. So I have a massive obsession with the girls from Lady Brains, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to have them here today as we go through how to launch a wildly successful podcast, but also all the things that Anna and Caitlin have done in their careers, because they have massive careers. I'm going to give you a bit of an intro now as to what they've done, so bear with me. We are, as I mentioned before, get ready for some massive career envy. I'm going to start with Caitlin. So Caitlin is a business and brand coach and a consultant who helps founders and businesses thrive. She has a healthy coaching client list and facilitates group coaching programs in branding and marketing, but she is also able to help her clients build massive six-figure businesses, which is awesome. She has a keen interest in purpose-led brands and individuals in well-being, positive psychology and leadership space. Caitlin infuses her marketing and communications background with practical application for positive psychology to explore and tap into her clients' values and strengths. Like insanely talented. And so is Anna. Anna has spent her career working in strategy and innovation for some of the largest fashion and beauty retailers globally. She has and was part of the founding Australian team bringing the Japanese retailer Uniqlo to Australia. Anna, within this role, she travelled extensively across Japan, Singapore and Melbourne. Up until recently, though, she headed up the concept development department at Australian beauty giant Mecca. Yes, that Mecca. She has extensive experience in ideation and ID validation, strategic planning and leading big teams to deliver highly complex projects. So these girls together form Lady Brains, which is one of my most favourite podcasts, but also a beautiful online community for women all over Australia. So guys, welcome to CareerCon.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Don't you look lovely and shiny on the screen?
Thanks. We found the good lighting finally.
So, we're in for a wonderful chat today. We are going to be focusing on podcasts, but really, just to get the ball rolling and just to get started, I would love it if each of you could just spend some time, taking us back to high school, who you were growing up, what made you decide to do what you did after high school, and what led you to your current role at Lady Brains. So maybe we'll start with you, Anna.
Well, we actually went to high school together. So we're friends from way back in the day. So
Don't try.
Oh, yeah.
A little while ago now.
Yeah, so in high school, I was, very sort of academic and studious. We both were. We were really into, all the extracurricular activities. We're in choir, we did art, we did sport. We kind of really immersed ourselves in high school. We loved it. Yeah. And then after high school, I think when I was in year 12, I think probably for both of us, we didn't know what we wanted to do in our career. I decided to go and study arts commerce at Melbourne Uni, and I wanted to do that because I wanted to try and get as much kind of diverse study and experience as possible, but I didn't go into that degree thinking that with a career in mind. So it was very much about just kind of opening myself up to different kind of disciplines and opportunities. And that was kind of my strategy going into uni.
Yeah, I think that it was very, very similar for me. I ended up studying business, marketing and an arts degree. And at that early stage of your life, it's really difficult to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. So having a degree or a couple of degrees, that allow you to explore so many different opportunities was, I think, kind of our strategy going into uni.
Yeah. And I think one of the interesting things is, when you're in year 12 and you go into uni, you often have this idea that you have one sort of career or discipline. It's like, I need to choose that one thing. But you know, when I was at university, my ambition and my goal was to work in intelligence. Like, I wanted to be a spy. I studied politics. I traveled to the Middle East. Like, that was my one
She
goal.
still could be a spy. We still don't know. She could be doing that on the side.
Yeah. But, you know, that was like my ambition. And I went through the whole recruitment process in my last year of university, and I failed at the very, very last round. And that was a really pivotal moment for me, because I had, you know, put everything behind this one career choice, and ultimately it didn't land, and that set me on a completely different path we can talk about. But I think the lesson there was that, like, you know, you will have many careers and many things that you do in your life, and you know, there's often pressure to choose that one, but I think, you know, your career and your trajectory will evolve. So I'm in media now. Like, that's so far from being an international agent of mystery. Yeah, I
know, you can't really.
Yeah.
took a different path.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So just quickly, Anna and Caitlin, like, what uni did you actually go to, and what course did you study?
Yeah, so I went to Monash University, and I did a Bachelor of Arts, Media and Communications and Sociology, and also Business Marketing. And then a little bit later on in life, I went to Melbourne Uni, and I studied positive psychology as well. So yeah, that's what I studied.
And I went to Melbourne University as well, and I did arts, and within that I did psychology and politics and international relations, and I did commerce as well. And within that I think my major was management. I actually can't remember.
All the things.
You
did all the things.
Yeah, it was a bit of everything.
Yeah.
You did all the things, and just a step back, because I know that that you actually do know each other, so this might be a little bit of an easy conversation. But when you were actually in high school and selecting the university that you wanted to go to, did you have an idea what you wanted to do? Or, because it sounds like that you have actually picked degrees that have had multiple variants, you know, lots of different streams that have coming off them. Did you have an idea what you wanted to do when you were back then in high school?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm trying to take myself back. What I knew about myself is that I had a creative brain and an analytical brain. As you know, I really enjoyed studying business, and I did business management in high school, and I also loved, you know, graphic design, and I was, you know, I spent most of my days up in the art room, you know, just kind of studying and creating. And I knew coming out of year 12 that I wanted to do something that would allow me to play to both my left and my right brain, or, you know, those kind of two strengths, the more creative and the analytical. And that's where, you know, I think I chose that path of going down, okay, let's do a business degree. I love business. I had a thirst for how can I create and sell? How can I make something, and how can I potentially one day work for myself? So I kind of had that in the back of my mind. I didn't know what that would look like, and, you know, here we are today. I couldn't have told you that this is what I was ever going to create, but I knew that business would open so many doors for me. And then as well as arts, you know, I think, again, the whole idea of writing and being able to, you know, have an argument, a healthy debate, you know, and all those wonderful things that you learn in the arts department also, I think, add a lot. And again, I probably thought I would skew more to business, but here I am, you know, in media, using that arts degree, which is really nice. So I feel like I got bang for my buck. I'm using them both. I mean, not many people get to say they use both of their degrees. And then, you know, adding postdoc, which again, I didn't know back in the day that that's what I wanted to go into, but I love learning how the brain works. I love understanding how people thrive, you know, not just kind of get by, like how do we really help ourselves and look after our well-being, and being able to fuse that with business and media as well in a way has been really exciting for me. And, you know, it's just you kind of just follow those seeds of interest, and you think, okay, what kind of doors do I want to be able to open for myself, and where should I start? And, you know, starting, you know, back at university, it might look different for other people. It might be more, you know, vocational, but, you know, that's where I started, and I kind of just kept going from there.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think, yeah, my story is similar in that, well, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do when I came out of high school. I had no idea, but what I did know is that I love to learn. And so I wanted to choose a degree that was really broad, that could you know, give me exposure to lots of different things. And, you know, I studied psychology at school and at uni, and I thought, oh, maybe I want to become a psychologist. And I kind of, you know, sort of teased that out for a bit. And then I studied this Middle Eastern politics subject that literally changed the trajectory of my university. I just loved it. And that was kind of what sparked me to become, you know, to want to go down this intelligence path. And then when I didn't end up getting that job, an opportunity for a role at Uniqlo came up, which was in Japan, and I applied for that and I got that. And that sort of set me down this path of working for big box retailers in strategy and innovation, which kind of, you know, I think it's just about kind of following the seeds of interest and also just the opportunities. There are so many opportunities that pop up when you're in uni, and I think just being open to as much as you possibly can be will help you find out what your interests are.
And not feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
You know, like don't put the pressure, unnecessary pressure or stress on yourself, because, you know, naturally things will unfold. And the best thing to do is to follow your nose and follow that sense of curiosity.
Totally.
And you will eventually get to either A, where you want to go, or B, you'll discover something even more incredible, something that you just couldn't have ever dreamt up, which is really exciting. And I think that's kind of where we've landed.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just so many great tips and so much good stuff to unpack in that conversation, you know. And it's interesting how, you know, you both led individual lives, you know, focusing on, you know, individual things that you're interested in, and somehow have managed to come together. And I think that's kind of, you know, it leads perfectly. It leads perfectly into, you know, the next kind of question, which is all around skills. So, you know, you're deep into high school, and, you know, all you've got on your mind is like, you know, nailing this exam and getting this prac done, and you know, but what you actually don't realize is that you're actually building up a really good base of transferable skills, and, you know, skills that can take you across multiple different careers and disciplines. And I think that you guys really highlighted that before, but you know, just a question: do you actually think that you need, you know, core marketing skills and business skills in order to, or even psychology skills for you, Caitlin? Like, you actually do need to go to university to do that kind of career, don't you?
Interesting question.
Really interesting.
I mean, I would probably, if I think about what I've done in my career and what I studied at university, I think the value for me in university was not actually in the content and the learning, like you know, I haven't really applied anything that I've learned in Middle Eastern politics. Or to be honest, you know, a lot of the business stuff that I studied at university is not necessarily relevant to what I'm doing now, running a business. But I think the value of going to somewhere like university is learning how to communicate, learning how to write an essay, you know, learning how to verbally communicate when you're presenting, you know, to your class or in a lecture. The critical thinking when you have to analyse information, analyze problems, you know, the research skill. I mean, you know, we have a podcast, and a large part of what we do is researching guests and synthesizing that information and curating questions. And, you know, that's what you do at university when you're researching for an essay. So I think it's almost the soft skills that you develop throughout a university degree that become really, really influential. I think, you know, especially when it comes to running a business, yes, there's a lot of, you know, study that you can do when it comes to running a business, but the best way to learn how to run a business is just to dive in. Is just to do it.
Exactly right. And you know, we've spoken to so many successful entrepreneurs that have all taken really different pathways. You know, not everyone did go to university. A lot of people just, you know, jumped straight in and they've learnt by doing, which, you know, we've learned a lot by doing and making mistakes and, you know, getting back up and talking to people and trying new things and, you know, learning online. So I think, you know, it comes down to you, and it comes down to what feels right for you. And if it is going to university, fantastic. You know, as I said, there are so many great skills that you will learn and take away from that. But if that's not your path, then that's also okay. You know, there are other ways to learn. And I think, you know, it wouldn't be fair to point the finger and go, you should do this or you should do that, because everyone learns differently as well. And university isn't always set up to you know, teach everyone in the same way. So yeah, I think, you know, it's just following what's right for you.
Wonderful. So, I mean, it sounds like you guys have had really, fruitful and really exciting careers, so it's kind of interesting then that you've sort of, left them and actually decided, you know what, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to launch our own business. So why did you do that? Like, what was the decision that thought, no, I'm not going to work for someone else anymore. I'm going to work for myself.
Well, it's kind of a long story.
It's such how long do you have? Really we'll try and tell you in the short version.
I think Kayla and I always were entrepreneurial. And we were the friends that would like sit down over a coffee or a wine and for like 3 hours just throw out ideas. And so
stupid ideas.
All through our 20s, we were like, when we were 21, we wanted to start a divorcee dating app. And like we were 21 and single. So like that didn't really make much sense, We started the bamboo towel business.
The bike sharing, we wanted to do that, which didn't do so well in Melbourne. And we had a couple of failed business ideas. That's one thing that we were always drawn to and attracted to, each other, as well as, obviously being friends. But we wanted to find something to do, didn't we, on the side?
And so Lady Brains actually started off as not even a passion project. It started off as one single dinner. So we were like, we really want to expand our own network with other women who are like entrepreneurial and want to start a business because we wanted to. And, we knew some people that had their own businesses, but not a lot. So we were like, let's kind of pull together our friends and friends of friends. And we started with one dinner. It was in St Kilda, and there were probably 8 or 9 women there.
Yeah.
And everybody, we had table topic cards that, sort of helped guide the conversation. And, we had wine, we had pizza. It was such an amazing night. And after that, everyone was like, oh my gosh, can we do this again? And can my friend come? So the next month we were like, can we do it again? And it was double the size. And the next month it was double the size. And I think it got to about 45 people one month. And we were like, okay, there's something really in this. There's a need for women who want to start businesses or have businesses to connect. And so we did those dinners for probably a year before we launched the podcast. And we worked on Lady Brains as a side hustle for two years. Yeah, before we decided to quit our jobs. And I think Caitlin was already working for herself, but I had a job. So for me to quit my job and Caitlin to kind of wind down her clients. But I think the kind of impetus for us to do that was landing a deal with Podcast One, which is kind of the podcasting arm of Southern Cross Stereo. So like Fox FM, Triple M, they've got a podcast business. And so, we landed that contract and we kind of were like, are we all in? And we're all in.
So
and that was over a year ago now.
Yeah, how time flies. But I think, the interesting part of that is, we built something that didn't exist, something that we needed. And, a lot of people end up falling into or finding their business through creating it because of a need that, wasn't met for them. And so the need for us was to surround ourselves with women that were interested in entrepreneurship or interested in starting a business or even had a business. We found that our network was predominantly, they were working for other people. And so we identified that we wanted to create this community of women. And naturally, by inviting people into that space, they started to invite more and here we are. So, again, it was just following that interest and creating something if it doesn't exist was the easiest thing for us to do.
Yeah, wonderful. So I think, just by learning and actually being involved in entrepreneur and startups and just investigating news and content about that, it seems that, a lot of people actually create something for something that they need in their own lives. And so I think that's, incredible. And I love that story. I love the dinner. I mean, just it's awesome. It's just sounds so organic and awesome. And I think podcasting is just, there are really great podcasts and I know that our audience have a massive, interest in potentially starting up one themselves, or maybe they already do have one. But a question that we hear time and time again is, how do podcasts make money? So how does it, how do you actually make money to live, or having a podcast?
How do you survive on podcasting?
How do you live?
Yeah. Right. Not easy. It's not easy. There's a couple of ways. So I think, for us, the way that we make money, I can speak to how, we make money off of it is through advertising. So one of the ways is to obviously have, ads pre, post and mid-roll, which will go for about 30 seconds. We read them because we find that a little bit more authentic, and people, prefer to hear our voices rather than someone else. And so we are able to, through Podcast One, insert these ads dynamically, which means that, a brand will pay to have that ad on the episodes across the entire catalogue for a certain amount of time, and then we can kind of transition them in and out. And so, being able to have that is fantastic, and they have, a sales team that help facilitate that. So the dynamic advertising is a really great way to be able to make money off your podcast. Obviously, you have to have a strong, listenership and build up your brand to make that easy to go and find the brands that, want to spend the money with you. But I think that's a really great way to be able to make money off your podcast. Another way is to partner with a brand and create like a series, and that will be, they'll pay up front. You might agree to say 5, 10 episodes, and you can, tailor that content. So whether or not it's, say Anna and I hosting, and, the content is with a brand, and maybe we're interviewing someone from that brand, or it's about a certain topic, whether it's beauty or, banking or whatever it is, and we'll, create the content with them, co-create it. It will be sponsored by them, and we'll put it up, and it will live there forever. Anyone can listen to it. So that's another way of making money. It can be a great top of the funnel, we like to call it. So, we've got a lot of listeners that will be able to promote, our products or other things to sell. It could be our product. It could be the product of another brand. Again, kind of like advertising, but we'd be directing them straight to whether it's an online program or a product. Our podcast can kind of be that vehicle to direct people to that brand's website. So they're kind of like the main ways that you can monetize a podcast. And then obviously, as you start to build your personal brand, you become known as, hosts or interviewers, and there are other opportunities that can kind of spin off of that. We've hosted panels at events, so we'll get paid to, obviously not right now, but, back in the days last year, when we're able to kind of go out, we were hosting panels again for brands, whether it's in-house or as part of a larger event. So that's also, a really great way to make money. Have I missed anything? I think they're the main.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're the main ways that you can monetize a podcast.
Yeah, and I think it's just interesting to note, or important to note, that the podcast for us and for many of the brands that have kind of built a brand through a podcast, the podcast is just kind of one product. So the podcast is kind of the way a lot of people discover Lady Brains, and then once they listen to our podcast and discover our brand, then they'll sort of move to our website and our social channels and so forth, and discover the other things that we offer, like our mentor programs, our supper clubs when we ran them, and online programs, etc. So it's a really fantastic way to build a brand and build awareness.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Well, we have some really cool questions coming through, guys. So I'm going to get ready for these ones. So I'm just going to rattle off a couple of them that have come through. Is it a good time to start a podcast?
Yeah. Definitely. Look, it's such a wonderful platform to be able to share your voice. I mean, obviously you have to figure out what you want to talk about. There are a lot out there, but I think, if you've got something important to say, go for it. There's no barrier to entry with podcasting. It's quite simple to set up, and off you go. You can release an episode a day, a week, a month, whatever feels right for you. So definitely a great time to start podcasting. We know that people are picking it up as a medium, people listening.
It's growing.
It's growing so fast. And I think, the other thing is you are able to sit directly in the ears of, the people that you most want to listen to your content. That's quite a unique opportunity, because, even scrolling Instagram, there's so much noise, but people intentionally will sit down or do things, but listen to your show, and you have a captured audience. So it's a wonderful medium, and I think, you know, now is a really great time to start a podcast. Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for answering that question, Anonymous. I hope that satisfied your need and that you go off and start
do it. And then send it to us.
All right, another question that's come through is, what sort of download numbers do you have for your podcast, and how do you grow your numbers?
Interesting question. Well, we actually aren't allowed to discuss our actual numbers, but we can talk about how we grow them. Yeah. So I think one of the most effective ways of growing, the most effective way of growing your podcast listenership is through word of mouth. You know, there have been many kind of like studies and reports produced that talk about how podcasts grow and kind of, you know, the distribution and so forth. And, you know, there's things like, you know, creating social media accounts and kind of, you know, growing your awareness through that. But the most effective thing is when somebody recommends. I mean, even if you think about how you discover your own podcast, most of the time it's through someone going, oh, you know, I listened to this, it was really fantastic. So word of mouth is probably one of the
strongest way, which can be hard, right? Because again, there's a lot out there, but that's why what we've done is build community around our podcast. So we have a lot of loyal kind of listeners that are willing to share. And I think, you know, asking them or you know, usually they'll just do it off, you know, because they love the show, but they'll share it across social media, they'll recommend it, and yeah, I mean, word of mouth is absolutely the strongest. Then you've got advertising,
like, you know, we run social media, we run Facebook ads,
all of that. But I think you can create a really loyal follow-up, like kind of, you know, listenership base, and you have people that are willing to share it across social or with their friends, with their communities, with their book clubs, you know, even that, you know, it's just like, how can you get people to share the podcast by word of mouth? That's the quickest way.
Yeah. And I think a couple of other things that we do that we would definitely recommend people do is, if you're interviewing guests, you know, get your guests to share your podcast with their audience. That's also, you know, when we release an episode, we'll package up, you know, some visual assets, we'll write copy, we'll, you know, take some audio grabs, and we'll package this kind of folder up and send it to our guests. So it's super easy for them to share with their own community. And, you know, we interview some pretty high profile people. And so we've been putting, you know, newsletters of, so for example, we will put in the newsletter of Kip & Co, which has, you know, tens and tens of thousands of people on the email list, and we saw a huge spike in numbers after we did that. So, you know, being really kind of, you know, a bit savvy and a bit smart, and getting your guests to promote is one thing. And I think the other thing is, we like to really sweat the asset. Did you know I was going to say that?
I was like, if you don't say it, I'll say it. So,
so you know, we have a podcast episode, and usually they're between 45 to 50 minutes long, and there is so much gold in there. There are quotes, there are audio snippets, there are video. And so we kind of take that piece of content and we'll kind of splice it up and repurpose it, you know, into maybe 30, 40 pieces of content. It could be a quote tile, it could be, you know, a series of, you know, 3 tiles that are like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3 from this particular interview with, you know, whoever. And creating kind of the content off the back of that and populating it across Instagram, across our Facebook group, across LinkedIn. It's just constant seeding and constant kind of, you know,
consistency. I think you just have to be so consistent. And like, there is, you know, taking the time to create a podcast, it takes time, it takes energy, you know, it's effort. So use it, you know, use all the gold that's in there, comb through it and repurpose as much and be consistent. Like, you know, we release on a fortnightly schedule on a Tuesday, and people come to expect that. And then naturally we have like a 2-week cycle of seeding out or delivering, you know, the content in different ways. So really figure out what's my rhythm, how often am I going to be releasing it, and just be really, really on point with that, because, you know, people will be looking for it to drop. You know, it's so nice to have people go, yeah, who's coming up next? Who's the next guest? So yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, awesome. Well, You know, it's crazy. I think we could actually just keep on talking for, you know, 3 hours. Yeah, and just getting deeper and deeper into the whole world of podcasting, and you know, before we actually, you know, clock off for this session, because we're nearing the end, I just really wanted to let our viewers know that they should definitely go over and follow the girls, particularly through their website and also Instagram at Lady Brains. Make sure that you listen to the podcast, because not only are they very forthcoming with their own advice, but they literally just ask those kind of questions to their guests that you just want to know the answers to, and that's what makes it so addictive. So from a vivid reader, thank you very much. Vivid listener, sorry, thank you very much for joining us here at CareerCon. Thank you very much for your time, and for sharing all those great goodies, and tips and advice. So have the most incredible day, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you
so much. Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.